So today we have a 2009 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD 6.6 Duramax towed in for transmission problem. It won't shift. It moved about 50 feet from where the service truck dropped it off. I'm attempting to scan it, and I've got no power to pin 16 of the DLC here, but the lighter fuse under the hood is good. So I'm going to have to see if I can supply power to it. It won't go in reverse. A message comes up on the dash, transmission shift inhibited. So I think there's an electrical issue with this thing, obviously, but I need power to the DLC to scan it. So we're going to see what we can do here. So I got the breakout box plugged into the DLC, and it shows the LED lit up, but the voltmeter doesn't read anything. Got with a multimeter lead connected in there. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this with the glare. I've only got about 3 volts on that connector. Now it comes from the underhood fuse panel. I'm going to turn the key off here because there's no point having it on. It comes from the underhood fuse panel, and it's pretty corroded looking, this fuse panel. This 20 amp fuse here is good, but there could be some corrosion in this fuse panel. This cover wasn't completely settled on here, and you can see the dirt on the fuse panel here. So I'm going to try to supply power to that DLC connector via the breakout box using a fuse jumper wire to restore communication, and then we'll see if we can get codes out of this thing. So I took power off of fuse 19, which is a 20 amp auxiliary fuse that's live all the time, with a fuse jumper wire, and I'm backpinning it in here. And the interesting thing is, as soon as I did that, I started to get network communication as I should. Prior to that, I had no CAN H, CAN L signal. Let's take it out and you'll see what I mean. Plug it back in. There was network communication. There they go. So it'll be interesting to see if this transmission will actually shift now. We'll see. I should be able to scan it at least. I'm going to turn off this recording. So when I attempt to select reverse, I get a message that says shift inhibited, shift to neutral to reset. I shift to neutral, put it back in reverse. It makes a feeble attempt to engage in reverse, and it doesn't move. So I'm going to try scanning it and see what kind of codes I'm getting. So the vehicle would not automatically ID. I had to manually enter the ID, so now we're going to try a code scan. Let's see how many controllers actually respond. I got a funny feeling that whatever is affecting this is a network issue. Not being able to pull the VIN out of the PCM indicates there's no communication with the PCM. We'll see if it actually reports on the scan tool. As I said, I got power to the DLC now because I backfed it to pin 16. Pins 4 and 5 are grounds, and they're fine. It's having a difficult time connecting to this thing. I might have to give up and start over again and see if this is a scanner issue now or if this is the vehicle issue. It's not even connecting to my Bluetooth here. Something's going on. So I rebooted the interface, and now the Bluetooth is connected. So let's try to auto ID this again and see if it will. Okay, that's good. We got communication with the PCM. I hate when the problem is the scan tool is glitched out because of a low voltage to it. Brake switch circuit, transmission control requested MIL, park neutral position, switch circuit, low voltage. Well, that problem right there alone could prevent it from shifting. I noticed when I put it in drive, it doesn't indicate drive. It indicates park, reverse, and neutral, but when I put it in drive, it doesn't indicate drive. Transmission shift solenoid valve performance, stuck off, stuck on, stuck off, stuck on. Circuit high. Circuit 3, circuit high voltage. codes in the glow plug controller, which is PCM related. Wonder how many computers it's still going through here. Well, it's almost completed. Sorry for the jiggles here. It's not the best setup for recording this morning. Okay, let's get rid of this. Bunch of transmission shift solenoid codes. That's interesting. I got no communication with any other controllers on the network. Click back. I noticed the airbag module. Airbag warning message is on. Let's see if we got any communication with the airbag module. I didn't think so. Okay, so there's other network issues in this vehicle as well. Damn. Well, let's try clearing the codes in the transmission and engine control computer and see if it'll restore operation. See, it only found 5 computers, and that looks like all the part of the high-speed network, engine, transmission, ABS, body, and glow plug modules are all on the CAN bus. But the serial data network doesn't seem to report. And let's go back into the transmission and read the codes. Shift solenoid valve performance. Well, I'm going to have to try to get this vehicle in the shop. It's a little uncomfortable working outside here in the cold. I was hoping it would move under its own power, but it doesn't appear to. So I managed to get it pushed in the shop with the skid steer and the trailer hitch. And it's not running now, but I've got the network backfed there. I got a whole bunch of low voltage codes since I cleared them. We're going to have a look at the fuse panel under the hood because it looks highly suspicious. As I mentioned earlier, these fuse panels are prone to corrosion. This one looks like the cover wasn't completely settled down it because you can see all the dust. Now if you look back here in this back corner, I'll try and zoom in on that. There is a couple of fuses there that are pretty ugly looking, those 10 amp fuses there. And in the fuse center, that is fuse 2, 4, 9, 14, and 19, I think it says. 2 is trailer stop, 4 is trailer stop, 9 is trailer backup, 14 is vehicle backup, and 19 is ITBC 15 amp fuse. I don't know what ITBC is. 2, 4, 9, 14, and 19. It's all trailer stuff by looking at it, but I'm going to pull the fuses for the transmission controller and see if they're corroded. So there's fuse 53 for the plug-in to the DLC, pin 16. It's good, the fuse is good, but it's awful corroded. The fuse panel looks awful compromised down there. So I'm going to take this entire fuse panel out and have a look at it. Wow, I bet you we'd be putting a fuse panel in there now if that's going to fix the wiring and circuits to the transmission. I'm not sure, but it looks highly suspicious. Let's take this one over here, out of here. It's full of salt. Well, let's check the transmission fuses. So this is fuse 7 labeled TCM battery. It's a 15 amp fuse and it's good on both sides. And this is fuse 13 and it's labeled transignition 1 and it's good on both sides. And I've pulled them out already and they don't look horribly corroded. That's not to say that there isn't a problem. I'm just going to cycle these fuses in and out. then see if the transmission codes go to history. So it actually went in reverse for about 5 seconds and then popped back into neutral again and set this P0701 code after cycling those two fuses. So I'm going to take that fuse panel out and have a look underneath it. Pulls up transmission data okay. Let's recheck for DTCs. I'm not sure. Yeah, C701 has come back. It still does not indicate drive when I select the drive position on the indicator on the dash, but it hasn't set any other codes. I'm going to pull that fuse panel off. So I got the fuse panel out. Normally these connectors stay locked in the housing, but most of them came out with the actual fuse panel. You'll see there's one corroded wire right off right there. That's probably the one that feeds the DLC pin 16. You can see the evidence of the green death in the bottom of the fuse panel housing. Several corroded terminals in there. Isn't that special? Well, I'm going to clean all these up as best I can. Repair that one terminal. See if I can find any other ones compromised. This is nasty. So I took all the connectors out, and there's one wire that was corroded completely off, as you can see here, come out of this terminal right here. I managed to get the terminal out, but I'm going to have to find another terminal because I can't reuse that one. And this main feed wire as well was fairly corroded. There was lots of green corrosion on it, so I'm going to see if I can source this terminal and replace it. It goes in here where I've marked it. You have to pull this secondary lock out of the side of the connector and then pick the terminals out from the face of the connector. Now these connectors are supposed to be latched or locked in the bottom of this plastic cover, but several of them are broken, so somebody's had this apart before on a previous occasion. A couple of these wires are compromised because they were pinched underneath the connector. So I'm going to repair these two red wires too. I have no idea what they go to, but I'm going to see if I can source a terminal so I can cut off this, because this one wire here is ready to fail. It is failed actually, and I don't know what that's for. Now I've ordered the fuse panel. It won't be here until next week, next Monday apparently. All goes well given the current situation. Hopefully that fixes or resolves the transmission issues. I have some positive sense it might, because just pulling the two fuses out seemed to eliminate a bunch of codes, so I'm thinking voltage drops in this fuse panel are causing the issue. Whether that's going to fix the airbag problem or not, I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So that connector under the hood is connector X4, and it was pin J5. J5, that one there, that was corroded off. And it should say what J5 is. Battery positive voltage. Doesn't say anything else. Nevertheless, these are the part numbers for the terminals. Pins A1, A3, A7. I'm just going to print this off and go to the dealership with it, because this is the part number right on this connector. OEM connector views. J5 should be terminal tray 13525969-4. Release tool probe crimp. So, and the other ones are E2, F2, E1, F1. E1, E2, F2. So it's this part number here that I need for that. I'm going to call the dealership and see if they have those in stock. So I acquired a previously enjoyed connector with a piece of harness on it. I peeled off the tape. It's easier to de-pin one of these terminals that's in good shape and splice the wire, because the wire is too short now anyways because it's corroded off. So I'm going to take this large one out. I Actually, there's two large ones. I'm going to take this large one out that matches the terminal that was corroded. I got lots of wire here to join to, as well as these two wires here that are going to the single terminal, and this one wire here. So I'll show you how that's done. So first of all, this secondary lock has to be removed. So this blue plastic piece has to be removed, and it's just removed by prying it out like so, and put it off to the side. Now that is the secondary lock. The primary lock, let's see, when we remove this large terminal first, is accomplished by reaching down through this terminal here with a small prying tool and prying in on the terminal and then pulling the connector wire out. Yeah, it's not coming out. Let's try this way. Not quite. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Now I have to reshape that terminal, that lock in here. I have to reshape that, so I'm going to have to get underneath that with a pin like so and pry it back out again so that it can go back into the connector. This looks like it's in pretty decent shape. So we're going to just splice the wire down here, and we'll remove the other ones. Basically the same thing. The other ones have a plastic terminal, a plastic pin. So you have to release this, push this plastic pin away from the connector at the same time as you push the connector down, or the terminal down I should say. And I'm not overly concerned about breaking the connector. There's the terminal in question there. Okay, so we're going to replace this terminal and splice the wires and put it back together again. So there's the fuse panel disassembled. Take pictures of all the relays and fuses and all their locations on top for removing them. And then I used little pins to slide down beside these locks on here. Let's see, which way does this go? It just slips in like that. So I slide a little needle down in behind the lock. There's about 8 or 10 of them around the outside edge here, and to hold it in place, and then you can pull the top piece off. Anyway, there's the fuse panel. You can see the corrosion over here. You can see some corroded traces on the circuit board. These are all little printed circuit board mounted relays for various things like the horn and stuff. And there's the other side of the circuit board. Doesn't look too bad. As I said, I've got one coming for it, but I'm going to clean this up a little bit. You can see the corroded terminal here where the fuse goes in. You can see these terminals aren't very robust. The fuse fits in here just like so. It just makes contact on those two little small terminals right there. So I'm going to clean this with baking soda and water or battery hose cleaner and blow it all dry, and then try and clean up some of the oxidized terminals like this one here. Wow. There's actually a piece of the fuse stuck on there. That's not to say this is going to fix it. I just want to get it out of the shop again. Well, there's all the relays and fuses reinstalled in it. Changed a couple of fuses out. We're going to stick it back in there temporarily, put dielectric grease on the connections, and see if it actually works now. Well, I got power at the DLC connector now, and the scan tool boots up okay. Let's try scanning it again. Remember, we couldn't get anything on the low-speed network before. Got engine, transmission, ABS, body control. Glow plug control module. We had all these before. Seems like we still have a problem with the low-speed network. Yeah, we got no communication with any controller on the low-speed network. Only 5 controllers reporting. Yeah, only 5 controllers reporting, so there's still a problem. Now, is it that fuse panel? Let's see what we've got communication with. I'm sure we don't have anything on the low-speed network. Let's try the airbag module, because I don't think it communicated. No communication. Okay. So it's looking like we have a low-speed network issue now. Well, let's see if the transmission works. Let's have a look at this code in the transmission. I think it's 701, P0701. And let's clear that and see if it comes back. While we're in here, we'll have a look at data, transmission data. I've got the key on, engine not running. Let's take a look. System voltage 12.3. Alright, let's have a look at if anything came back code-wise. So nothing came back yet, but it may not set 701 unless it's running. So I'm going to start it up and see how it operates. Well, the transmission seems to go into forward and reverse gears now. Let's see if there's any codes. No codes came back, but I did notice that the gear shift indicator doesn't indicate when it's in drive, and it doesn't go to manual second. So I'm going to have a look at engine or tranny data right here and see if it indicates what gear it's actually in here. Gear commanded, current gear, gear selected. Maybe I'll take it for a road test. Chance taking it for a road test. So I took this thing for about a 2-kilometer road test, and it shifted first, second, third, fourth, and fifth down a gravel road here. Then I turned around at the end of the road, and it seemed to flare like it went into neutral for a split second. I noticed that the gear shift indicator in the dash does not indicate drive, and the shifter manually cannot be shifted to manual position, so there's something going on with the shifter. These are the codes that returned after the road test. So I'm going to see if there's anything common amongst all these codes, like power feed or something like that. So I have it up on the hoist, I have the key on, engine not running. I disconnected the shift cable on the side of the transmission. And if I move the shifter manually on the side of the transmission, reverse, neutral, drive goes to invalid. But the next position, which the gear shift from the cab doesn't go to, shows drive fifth or something like that. And then back to drive, it shows invalid in here, or invalid here. So there's a problem with the transmission range switch, and there's other issues going on inside the transmission as near as I can tell with shift solenoids. I still haven't figured out if they're all related or not.